Well, hey guys, we need to talk about what has been going on over on TikTok. It is actually quite serious. I know a lot of you guys choose to avoid that platform. I think that's a good thing. So I like to consider myself your TikTok liaison, but this is actually pretty serious in my opinion, so much so that I felt strongly compelled to make this video. The FDA and the DEA have issued joint warnings against online pharmacies that are selling Adderall without a prescription. Adderall, if you're not familiar, is a medication used to treat ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a controlled substance. It's a scheduled class of medications. Scheduled drugs are those that the government regulates the prescribing of more tightly because of their potential for addiction, for abuse. So there are two pharmacies online right now, cubafarm.com and premiumlightsupplier.com, that they have issued warnings against. What was it, about a month ago in one of my vlogs, I mentioned how every time I open that TikTok app, I get one of these ads for an ADHD medication. And I just thought that that was really icky. And we're gonna get into the nature of these ads. And I know what you're thinking. Why are you talking about this? This is a skincare channel. We're not here to hear about other things. I totally understand, but you guys, this is actually pretty serious. And to be honest, I have not seen anyone talking about this. And in this video, I'm gonna get into why I'm so disturbed by this and why I think it's important to increase awareness of what is going on in terms of these platforms, these startups that are marketing really heavily to kids, potentially very addictive medications. If you have been on TikTok at all, you may have noticed this wave of these startups that are a form of telehealth, a direct-to-consumer service offering basically treatment through telemedicine for ADHD. The thing that leaves a bad taste in my mouth is when you encounter these ads, they are, ugh. I'm gonna play one of these ads from the startup Done so you can see what I'm talking about.
I have another paper due tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I have a paper due tonight. I'll start this afternoon. I write the first sentence of my paper and reward myself with a short nap. I wake up at 11 p.m. and I write the most amazing paper. The words are flowing through my fingers. I've never typed this fast before in my life. And then 11:59 comes. I hit submit and then I realize I have another paper due tomorrow.
These TikTok ads are really heavily pushing the sales of Schedule II ADHD medications like Vyvanse, Adderall, Concerta. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that these medications are bad. If you have ADHD that has been diagnosed by your healthcare provider and they are prescribing you that as part of your treatment and monitoring it, that is part of the treatment for that. However, it becomes a whole separate issue in my mind when you take a controlled substance and you market it heavily on a platform that is largely comprised of young, impressionable people. The ads, in my opinion, are super shady because if you look at how they are done, first of all, when I came across them, I didn't even realize right away that it was an ad because it felt just like any other TikTok being shown to me. The nature of it as an ad, it wasn't obvious to me right away. It's gonna be disclosed in the bottom. And as I got more used to the app, well, then it became clear that this is just a recurring ad that I keep seeing. The creepy thing about their ads is they market like Adderall, for example, almost like a performance enhancing drug, not a medication to treat ADHD. And they make it seem as though this medication is going to write your paper for you, it's going to make you focus better, it's going to have all of these benefits. And they kind of make it seem like it doesn't even really matter if you actually have ADHD, which is a huge issue in my mind. ADHD, there are a lot of other things out there that can present with problems with attention and focus that are not ADHD, and taking stimulant medications like Adderall can make you substantially worse. Poor sleep actually can present with inattentiveness and poor focus. A sleep disturbance, a sleep disorder, maybe you have sleep apnea, things like this. Taking a stimulant is not going to be the best thing if that's the cause of your inattention and poor focus. Some people with other psychiatric illnesses, like bipolar disorder, for example, they can present with poor focus and inattention. Giving a stimulant to someone with undiagnosed bipolar disorder can actually be pretty dangerous. It can unmask their mania. If you are having problems with attention, with focus, if you feel like there's not something right, I highly encourage you to see your doctor about this, not go to some like sketchy online service like this, because like I said, it could be another medical problem or it could be ADHD. You want to know that it actually is ADHD. There's a huge problem with these types of ads because they make it seem like you can just self-diagnose yourself. The ads really blur the line between a medication with a clinical indication and basically a performance enhancing drug. These medications actually are very commonly abused by people who do not have ADHD, and there is a huge drive, market, what have you, of people seeking these either as basically performance enhancing drugs or as something that they can get like maybe from one of these online pharmacies and then sell to their friends. It's actually common in professionals. I mean, anybody who has a high stress job, you will find this creeping its way in. To study more, focus more, stay up later. There is significant potential here for abuse, and it can lead to serious adverse health effects long term. Convincing kids that they can diagnose themselves with conditions that they don't actually have. I honestly see this being even more of a problem these days. It's also really problematic and unethical to market so heavily to kids, convince them that they can self-diagnose and then that this is going to be the solution. It could be too that they have an underlying learning disability. I mean, and in which case classroom modifications may be needed, or they may need some special attention for their learning disability, and this has no role in it. I really find the language in these advertisements to be incredibly manipulative. They say things like low cost, without the stigma. They say things like ADHD is complicated, but getting treatment doesn't have to be. I really find that manipulative because it basically kind of paints the doctor as like this barrier to getting good care. If you think about it in a way, like a lot of people have fears about going to the doctor of cost here in the States because it can be expensive. Insurance may or may not cover things. Sometimes you never know if it's actually going to be covered in the end. That's really scary, especially now with inflation. People are really on a strict budget. They're suffering financially. So that is a true fear that this advertisement is preying on. And they also prey on the idea that, oh, ADHD as a diagnosis is complicated, but treatment doesn't have to be. And I think they prey on that because they know it can be frustrating to deal with symptoms of inattentiveness. And so they're like, oh, just go ahead and get on the medication and it'll all be good. You don't have to have the stigma. But there's honestly, like, going to the doctor and saying that you have symptoms of poor attention and focus, they're kind of making it seem like you're going to be like judged for that. That's not the reality though. I mean, if anything, we should be heavily encouraging people to see their healthcare provider if they have symptoms of poor attention and focus. Because like I said at the beginning of this video, not only could this be a sign of ADHD, but there are a ton of other health problems, both medical and psychiatric, that present this way. So it's really important to see your doctor if you have these symptoms, not to be ashamed or not to, feel poorly bad about yourself. To me, stigma would be like, oh, you're having problems paying attention, you must not be trying hard enough. Stop complaining. That to me is stigma, language of stigma, not definitely see your doctor, make sure you don't have a medical problem, an evaluation for potential underlying psychiatric issues, discuss your symptoms with them, maybe blood work is needed, who knows? I mean, like I said, poor attention and focus, those are symptoms. Just like a fever is a symptom. Imagine this. Imagine if there was an advertisement that's like, oh, you've got a fever in the middle of the night? That could be complicated. You don't want to go to the urgent care because it might be too expensive, which, let's be honest, it can be. Just take this pill. Come on, you guys. There are thousands of different potential causes for a fever, autoimmune disease, infectious diseases, you name it. So to just like say that we have the solution to your symptom is really misleading. And it makes all kids with these symptoms think that they must have ADHD. And you really need the evaluation piece to rule out all of the other battery of things that could be that could be causing your symptoms. I have to make this skincare related in some way because I know that's why you guys follow me. But remember, I pointed this out in many videos before. A lot of kids who have eczema have sleep disturbances throughout the night that cause them to be sleep deprived, to have poor attention. They have problems in school, difficulty paying attention, and they often do get misdiagnosed. Once their eczema is treated, then their sleep improves and their attention and focus problems improve. So there are a lot of things that can lead somebody to have poor attention. There's a reason why stimulants are a scheduled class of medication. They have a high potential for abuse and misuse and can be potentially very dangerous. Marketing them so heavily to young people, many of which are actively seeking these, looking for an avenue outside of their doctor to get these, either to abuse themselves or to sell to friends for a profit. I mean, this can actually turn into a serious epidemic, in my opinion. The access now with online and people seeking these, I think there's something to be said here for something very serious. So how is this even possible then that these startups could market a scheduled drug so heavily to young people on TikTok? Like, how is that even allowed if the DEA regulates this like a scheduled class of medications? How is that possible? Well, these startups are taking advantage of a bit of a loophole. So in 2008, Congress passed a bill called the Ryan-Haight Act. Basically, an 18-year-old died of an opioid overdose after getting an opioid from an online pharmacy. So this bill was passed, basically making it illegal to prescribe scheduled medications on the internet without actually seeing the patient in person. Personally, I cannot imagine prescribing a scheduled class of medications without seeing a patient first and evaluating them. To me, that is just like, I don't know how you would feel comfortable ever doing that, but whatever. However, the DEA actually changed this a bit in 2020 in light of the COVID-19 pandemic because at that point, we were all sheltering in place and a lot of people weren't able to actually go in and see their doctor in person. So many doctors switched over to seeing their established patients via telemedicine. So there you can imagine you've been going to, say you're a psychiatrist for a few years for your ADHD medications. There, it's definitely going to be helpful in the setting of lockdown, stay-at-home orders for you to be able to see your doctor on the internet that and get your medications safely. But these startups have taken advantage of that to basically sell you drugs. These medications are serious. You really don't want to just take them without doctor supervision because of the abuse potential and for potential for side effects. And not to say that people who actually have ADHD do not benefit from these medications, they certainly do, but they're not right for every person out there. You want to make sure you actually have this diagnosis. While I'm not a psychiatrist, I will also point out that when it comes to treating ADHD, it's not just about taking a stimulant and boom, you're done. There's also behavioral therapy to just market the drug face forward without any discussion about how ADHD is diagnosed. I just think it's super shady. Not to mention these ads are basically like, they're basically like marketing them as performance enhancing drugs to get you through school, to make you test better, write your papers faster, focus better. There's even one on there, what it's like taking ADHD meds for the first time. I mean, to me, that is super shady. Does anyone else not find these ads highly suspicious? The way they are marketing a scheduled class of prescription medications to young people. Does anyone else not find this suspicious? I know here in the States, we have a lot of big pharma marketing that is problematic in and of its own, but this is even worse. So the DEA eventually will reverse the loophole, I believe. When that's gonna happen though, I don't know. And when it does, it'll be interesting to see how these startups change their marketing because a lot of what they're touting is the convenience factor of just being able to go online, get your stimulants, and not have to see a doctor. So once the DEA says, hey, you can't do this without seeing a doctor in person anymore, I wonder how they will change their marketing. I'm serious, you guys, this can potentially turn sour for a lot of people, for a lot of young people. You know, I know a lot of you guys avoid TikTok, but I do think it's important to know how it can influence people's behaviors, especially young people. A lot of college students, you know, are very impressionable. It's a vulnerable time of life because you're trying to excel. You have your whole future ahead of you. This can be something very tempting. You see other people taking this, seemingly being able to study, you know, focus longer. But the problem with these drugs is that you become dependent on them, and the drug no longer works, so you have to take more of it. That's why these can be pretty dangerous. And they have serious side effects too. They can kill your appetite, you know, make you not able to sleep, jittery. I mean, their potential for harm is quite high. Again, I want to reiterate that if you have this diagnosis and you take these medications under the supervision of your doctor, that's what they're indicated for. So I in no way want you all to feel like I am stigmatizing that. But it's important that these medications be appropriately prescribed, not just obtained over the internet. And the fact that there are these online pharmacies now where kids can just go online and get a scheduled class of drugs, it's, you know, it's got the potential to be the opioid epidemic part 2, only with a different drug. And so that's why I felt compelled to make this video, you guys, because I think it's important to know and to see what is going on. Let me know in the comments. I know, like I said, many of you guys steer clear of the TikTok platform, but let me know in the comments if you have seen these ads. I don't know why they market them to me so heavily. All I'm on there looking at is comedians and skincare routines. I have no idea, but they are pretty heavy duty marketing, and I get one every time I go on that app. I try and limit going on that app, but like I said, I'm the TikTok liaison for you guys, so I have to do my homework. Anyways, y'all, that's what I wanted to talk about today. On the end slate, I'm going to put my last video reacting to some TikTok nonsensory, so check that out. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.